So just to touch on introverts in general, introverts are usually defined as a quiet, reserved individual, and they like their own space and having their own time and being able to think and reflect on their own, if that makes sense. So it's known for introverts to prefer minimal stimulating environments and not big crowds, and like talking to people just one-to-one, feel more comfortable doing that. And then it can even come back to things like prefer writing or sending emails rather than a phone call. So just bits like that, which ties into the personality of an introvert themselves. So on the other hand, we have extroverts. So these are more louder people, more outgoing. They love socializing in big groups, and they kind of gain energy from group situations, whereas an introvert may need time to recharge after that. It like drains energy out of an introvert, if that makes sense. So there's also, if you think of it as kind of a scale of introverts and extroverts, there's also people that may sit in the middle of that, say if their personality trait is kind of a bit of both, if that makes sense. And they're called, kind of remember the word now. One second. Yeah, ambivert. Sorry, it's a bit crazy, isn't it? Lots of different terms for it. So if someone has traits of both sides, they're classed as an ambivert. So I'd say I'm definitely on the introvert end of the scale, and I'll just share why now. So I'm just going to rewind quite a bit back. I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail, but I'm hoping that some people will relate to that and it will have an impact on you of where I was in the past and where I've come to at this point in my career right now. So going back to younger school years, so I was always really quiet growing up, and I was that kid in school that didn't speak much, but I was happy. I wasn't sad. And I realized once I got older that there's a lot of misconceptions of being quiet. Firstly, I was always asked if I was okay or if I was upset, or why I didn't talk much. And then when I did pluck up the courage to talk, I'd then get comments like, oh my God, she can talk, or that's the first time I've heard you say anything. So it was kind of tough when you're quiet and you get comments like that, because that's just you naturally. And then you don't want to change yourself because that's not you being true to yourself. So to this day, I still believe that there's kind of some situations where if you are quieter than say like louder people, that you can miss out on opportunities, and you kind of not get forgotten, but you don't come to mind if someone wants someone to do a talk, or if I'll just go back to school again, like plays and stuff. If you're a quiet child, then you don't really get offered like a main role in a play. And obviously back in the day, I would have said no anyway, but that's not the point. So yeah, just moving on to starting high school and stuff. So I did have quite a big, large group of friends, but I was always the quiet one in the group, and I'd let other people do the talking, and I'd just chip in where I felt comfortable. And just to share a little funny story, which I remember to this day, is I started volunteering in high school to go into primary schools and talk to younger children about high school experiences and stuff like that. And I remember me being me back then. I just wanted to introduce myself quick, and then hopefully the next person would start talking, and there wasn't a break. So me rushing my words out, said what my name was, and then I had loads of little kids going, I can't hear you, what are you saying, can't hear you. And me being me, just back down, and I was like, what am I doing here? I shouldn't have done this. Like, that was my first time going to speak somewhere. So from there, moving into college again, I was really quiet, and I was like kind of in my own shell, if that makes sense. And again, I'd get people asking if I was okay. So I started to kind of try and push myself out of my comfort zone by joining a choir in college. So I can't sing. I don't think I can sing, but it was just something to be involved in. And obviously doing shows and stuff, pushing myself out there to be centre of attention, if that makes sense, which I've always hated. So yeah, I started slowly coming out of my shell, and then leaving college and career-wise, I was always interested in IT. So I started an apprenticeship in software development. And while I was doing that, I realised that it wasn't coding that I was into, it was more design. I was more interested in how applications looked and how the user would use them rather than how they were built in the back end. So I've found a real passion in design, specifically application design and web design. So from there on, I realised I had a dream, but then there was always me being quiet that was still holding me back from that. And I always thought I'll never be able to present because I can't talk in front of people. I'll never be able to go out to meetings and visit customers or anything like that. So it was kind of like a burden on me that I know I want to do it, but I don't think I can do it. So from there, I started joining meetings and stuff, but I'd be take a back seat in the meetings and I'd let other people do the talking, and I'd just agree, and I didn't want anyone having to just listen to me. So then a big transformational moment for me was when I started working at A&S Group as a product designer. So just a little insight into a story while I first started. I was on a big complex project and I was a bit overwhelmed with it. There was like a lot of stress involved because it was one of my first big projects. And instead of me being me, staying quiet, I decided to reach out to a colleague. Actually had a phone call, surprising, instead of just sending an email. And we had a chat around what I was struggling with and how I didn't feel like I should have been working on that project, like I weren't ready for it and stuff. And he proper pushed me and motivated me to believe that I should be doing it. So I think having that person that believes in you proper spurs you on and makes you want to strive to achieve more. If someone else believes in you, you think, well, they must see something in me, so I'm going to try. So anyway, he mentioned that there's going to be a meeting with the clients and he wants me to present in the meeting. And I was thinking, no way, I'm not doing that. There's no chance. And he said, you should do it. It'll be good for your career. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. I'll pick it up again and we'll work through it. So I committed to it. As soon as I committed, I decided I didn't want to do it. I was like, no chance. But anyway, I went with it. I put a lot of prep in. So I had my iPad full of my notes, everything to go through. And then I sat back afterwards and thought, oh no, all the attention's going to be on me for the whole meeting. I really can't do it. So that evening I did a dummy run with my boyfriend and I couldn't get any of my words out. I couldn't explain how I wanted to in the meeting. And I went into panic mode and I was tempted to email and say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to back out. In the end, I didn't. And I thought, just do it. Just push yourself. So that morning, I was that nervous. I was actually sick because it was my first proper meeting. And I was thinking, wow, why am I doing this? So yeah, I went into the meeting. It was a big boardroom. Bear in mind, it was my first meeting. All the clients came in suits. They looked really professional, really high up in the business. I'm sure there was a CEO there as well. And I was just thinking, oh no. So anyway, the meeting started and I just decided to ignore everyone in the room, pretend I was on my own, thought about what the actual project was. And I knew the project inside out because I was the one that designed it. So I thought no one knows if I'm wrong because it's my work, if that makes sense. So I went for it. And as soon as I started talking, I got in the zone and the passion took over. And And because I love my job that much, once I start talking about it, then you can't stop me. So I just went on and on. And the meeting actually ran over, but the clients wanted me to carry on because they were that interested in what I was talking about. So afterwards, I was inundated with emails of praise, which was quite surprising for me because I hadn't done anything like that before. And from that moment on, I realised that I am capable of doing it. I just need to push myself out of my comfort zone more and just ignore that fear that was stopping me. So from there on, I realised that confidence is a process. It's not something that will happen overnight. You just got to keep working at it and keep pushing yourself to get there. And each meeting I did after that, it got easier each time and it became more natural to me. And then I made the decision to travel down to our London offices and deliver a presentation to the sales team. And, you know, salespeople are a tricky audience. So that proper pushed me. Instead of hiding behind my laptop, doing it over Teams, I was in person. So from there, I kind of felt more confident in myself that after I'd done a few more meetings, and I set myself the goal of becoming a senior product designer. So in the back of my head, I knew I could do it, but I just kept telling myself that I wasn't ready. And I had an amazing manager that pushed me, and they could see my potential, which helped me out so much as well. So in May last year, I was promoted to senior product designer. And then after that, I took a step back and realized that I'd achieved so much in that amount of time from where I used to be to where I was after that promotion. And the transformation in my confidence was crazy over that time as well. So after getting my promotion, I thought, what's next for me? What can I do from here to improve my confidence even more and take another step? So in March, I signed up for the Confidence Collective, which is the 4-part program all around confidence. And that's had such a massive impact on my confidence personally over the past 3 months. And I've learned to analyze myself, which is really insightful, and work out what my values and strengths are and where I struggle, what I can improve on. And that's allowed me to set myself new goals that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So during them sessions, I also delivered my first short talk, which I could never imagine myself doing a couple of years ago. And I managed to post it on LinkedIn to try and push myself out there a bit. And of course, I'd wrote my post, it was all ready, and I was sat there for about 10 minutes before I actually hit post. But it was crazy how much feedback I got from that. And that's really made me believe in myself more, seeing what other people thought about it as well. So during that process of getting from this really quiet, shy young girl into this more, I'm going to say expert in my job, I now have the ambition to set even further goals, which obviously back then were just a complete no. I would have just said no straight away. So I have now the idea of mentoring younger people who may not realise the different creative careers that are out there, and highlight that anything's possible if you're passionate about something. Doesn't matter how quiet you are, and don't let that get in the way of you doing what you want to do. And I also want to start a video series of design insights. So I'm going to do like 10-minute videos. So they've been approved with work. I just need to plan them out now. And I'm also going to push them out online as well to reach more people. So just a few tips if anyone is struggling with anything that I have done, or is just naturally quiet and you want to try and improve on that, then don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. To me, it's now a gift because I've learned from it and I've made that big step to kind of overcome it. And I'm proud of who I am and my personality traits. Don't try and become an extrovert. Just be who you are and find what you're passionate about, and then that will push you on even further. And again, confidence is a process, so just trust it, and keep going and keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, no matter how hard it is. And the results will amaze you if you do that. So yeah, just set yourself micro goals, which will ultimately lead onto you achieving your bigger goal. And yeah, just try and understand yourself a bit more, what your values are, what your strengths, what you can improve on. And don't let being an introvert cause barriers in your career. So I'm an introvert, but I'm now a confident one. Thank you.
That's absolutely amazing. Such an inspiring, insightful story. It just blew me away, Zoe. Absolutely blew me away. Just lost for words a little bit. It was just so gripping in terms of wanting to know more about your journey. Really taken back, to be honest with you. So a couple of questions already come in, Zoe. You talked about, obviously, about the introversion and extroversion. And Rebecca has asked, what tips do you have for the extroverts out there, and how can we support introverts?
That's a good one. I'd say maybe just try and involve people a bit more if they are quieter. Try and prompt them. If they're not talking much, or if they seem quiet, or they're struggling with something, or how to put themselves out there, try and prompt them or involve them in more things, maybe, just to make them feel like people understand where they're coming from, if that makes sense, and make them more comfortable in pushing themselves out of the comfort zone.
Brilliant. Great advice there, Zoe. Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, thanks. I had asked that sustaining question, thinking that all the speakers had already gone, Zoe. And
oh no, it's fine. Don't worry.
Include you too, and so yeah, my apologies there. You do have that question eventually, but the question I want to ask first is, introverts, tend to, of course, get overlooked for promotions or, rewards, raises, all that business. And you were fortunate enough to have a manager who kind of, go ahead, put yourself out there, gave you the encouragement. So for somebody who may not have a manager who's as encouraging, what tips would you have for them?
Just believe in yourself completely. Don't let anything get in the way. And even just speaking to friends about career stuff, if you don't usually have them conversations, and getting feedback off people is a massive thing, I think. The more feedback you get, the more you learn, even if it is negative feedback. Take it with a pinch of salt and move on from it in a positive way, and learn from anything that didn't go too well, if that makes sense.
And then what are you going to do to sustain yourself now that you've come to the end of this Confidence Collective journey?
Yeah, that's a good one. So like I mentioned, I want to push myself to do mentoring with younger children, which I've had a vision of doing that for a while. So I just want to plan out what I'm going to do. And I'm thinking of maybe kind of, this is going to be a future one. I'm not putting it off, but maybe doing workshops about design, like have an idea around design with me, and like doing workshops with young people of how to design an application. And then also I want to do more public speaking as well. So I did my first little talk at the confidence community, and I want to kind of elaborate more on that, go into more detail around design itself, because there's lots of things that people aren't aware of. There's lots of finer details. It's not just making something look pretty. There's a lot of stuff that goes in the background around the user experience, accessibility, branding, etc. So just give people more of an insight into it.